Alex Glockner, who has owned and managed it ever since. It is now one of the largest and most substantial retail businesses in the Portsmouth area, and it is a credit to the town as well as its young and energetic proprietor. Our subject was married to Adelaide Lange, Lange, daughter of John Lange, that's really daughter of Joe Lange, January the 11th, 1892, by whom he has 2 children, but they had 4 children. Edward, age 7, who was my father and the only son of that marriage, and Helen, age 5, who never married and died in 1984, I think at the age of 87. He is a member of St. Mary's Catholic Church and a member of the Knights of St. George. He was reared a Democrat but does not follow his early teachings very closely. On the contrary, he is very liberal in his political views. While nominally a Democrat, he votes for the man and the measure oftener than for the political party. Mr. Glockner is an excellent example of what is called American energy and push. Starting but with little more than an ordinary boy, he has, by constant application of industry and acute business insight, established a business which is a shining index to his business ability. Besides being a first-class businessman, he is a true sportsman and takes a keen interest in his dogs and gun and fishing tackle, as he does in his business. One of his chief delights is to follow the hounds or hunt beside a blooded pointer or a setter. And that's true. I was only 5 years old when grandfather died, and I feel like I know him, but I know I was too young to really know him. I guess my being the first grandchild and the first grandson, he probably had a lot of hopes and enjoyment about thinking about the future. But the thing that I have enjoyed about him is the stories that they tell about him and what a character he was. I guess he was jovial. He never knew a stranger. He was a hard, disciplined businessman. He wasn't afraid of a risk. He gave much to the community, both in money and of his time, as we read earlier in my comments about his being involved in stockholder in the largest hotel in our community, which is now a retirement home. Or retirement apartments, and he was involved in the construction of a bridge across the river, which opened up all the commerce from the Kentucky side of the river. It was dependent on the big city of Portsmouth for its goods and services and professional and health care, and still is. But he loved to hunt. And I guess he had a philosophy: when business was good, you could afford to go hunting and fishing, and if business was bad, there was no use staying around the business because there's nothing you could do about it, so you go hunting or fishing. So he and his brother Adolph, Uncle Adolph, whom he took into the business as a full partner, in the hardware business, were quite the guys with their guns and sportsmen. Of course, they would go out and stay with these farm people who came in and dealt with them, bought from them, and they very hospitable, and they would go out and hunt dove and quail and rabbit, and I can feel like I can remember, although I've seen pictures of just string after string of birds still in the feathers. I mean, they'd gutted them, but it was cold in the winter, and that was their means of preserving and keeping them frozen, would be strung across the back porch high in the air. And Grandpa's wife, my grandmother, was just a great cook. And but anyway, they hunted behind and over English pointers and setters, and they bred their own dogs and always had a kennel full, and they were just known all over. Grandpa was a great, he and Adolph both were great for going to Canada and hunting bear and elk, and never heard too much about deer because there was plenty of deer around this area. But Aunt Helen always told me about him, that when business and the pressures of business, and he would get upset about things, he would just go down at the park on the riverbank and sit and watch the river, and seemed to be his means of relaxing and getting away from it all. Of course, my grandfather married my grandmother, who was Maria Adelaide Lang, and she was just a wonderful lady. And of course, they had 4 children. My father was the oldest. My Aunt Helen was the second, and Louise, who became Sister Thomas Ackwin, in the same order as Sister Ackwin was in, and they were at the mother house together. She was a tall, stately, jovial, just a lovely person, and a very talented, musically talented person. And then she had a younger sister, Anna, who married Edwin von Lerdy. And Anne is still living today, but is not in good health at all, and I think she's about 82. But Sister Thomas Ackwin was at missions within a 30-mile radius of Portsmouth, so as I grew up, we were with her quite a bit. I was with her on her deathbed, always wrote to her all the way through service, and of course I feel her prayers helped me, and but just loved her, and she died in 1946 of cancer at the age of 46. So that's the background on